You're listening to the Jackson House Podcast, the starting point of your journey to recovery. Whether it's you or a loved one navigating mental health challenges or addiction, we're here to offer support. Get to know the dedicated professionals guiding you, hear powerful stories of transformation, and discover valuable tools and tips to maintain your well-being and sustain recovery. Welcome to your supportive community at both West Coast Recovery Centers and Jackson House.
Well, welcome back to today's episode of the Jackson House Podcast, where we dive into the power of connection through recovery. Joining us today is Melissa Ramon. She is the Alumni Coordinator for Jackson House and West Coast Recovery Centers. And Melissa plays a crucial role in creating social activities that foster community and support for a person's recovery from mental health and substance abuse treatment. Melissa's work ensures that the activities are engaging, substance-free, and vital to a sustained recovery. So let's discover how she does it and the impact that it has on those who she helps. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Olivia.
Yeah. So why don't we just start with you telling us a little bit about your role at Jackson House? You're an alumni coordinator. What does that mean?
Yeah.
And maybe what got you interested in this line of work?
Yeah. So first off, I started with Jackson House about 3 years ago now.
Okay.
I've been doing alumni coordinating for a little over a year and a half now. And so what that kind of entails is just keeping the community connected when clients, successfully complete our program. So, my job here, responsibilities is to make sure that we're maintaining their recovery by keeping them engaged. So we want them to be, going to outside meetings, but also our alumni meetings and giving our clients that sense of hope. And also gives them that opportunity to come back and give back what was given to them.
Right. That's a great way to put it. So they go through treatment here, and then what kind of activities do they typically do through alumni?
Yeah. So what we do is we kind of do things on a monthly basis, and it kind of just depends on, what that month looks like. For example, like this month and being in April, we're really promoting, mental health awareness. So we typically will do, 4 meetings a month as far as our substance use goes. And that's every single Wednesday. We have the option.
And that's in person.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah. So we have it in person. And then we also have the Zoom option. So if people are out of state or not able to make it, in person physically, we give them that option to join us via Zoom. So they still have that opportunity to connect with one another.
Right.
Yeah. And then we also, for our mental health, we have something every single week, every Thursday. That's typically an alumni dinner. Or a panel of people that are currently in recovery, and they can come back and share their experience through Jackson House, but also what they're doing outside of Jackson House, as far as like maybe being in a PHP, IOP, going to peer-to-peer meetings, things like that.
And I would imagine that, when they get together after they've gone through treatment, there's a lot of sharing of success stories. So maybe one person is there to help motivate somebody else or help keep them encouraged along the way.
Yes.
Do you see a lot of that, or like
that's all I see? Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. For example, we this past Wednesday, 12 people took time, meaning they had 30 to almost a year in sobriety, and they can share their experience, strength, and hope. And that really gives people that, motivation to stay involved in recovery, but also meet with each other and form that family community that I think a lot of people are looking for.
Right.
I think a lot of people have family, but a lot of people also don't in recovery, and maybe bridges were burned or, and they're working on getting those things back. But it can all start here with our Jackson House alumni and getting them all reconnected and give them that platform too, to make those connections and do things outside of just, AA and A or whatever their recovery process looks like, but have fun in it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you say fun. So what kinds of things do you do? I know you mentioned the dinners, but I know there's some other activities that they do on the weekends as well that incorporates fun, because I would imagine they finish this treatment and it's hard to probably get yourself back into the social setting and learn how to have fun again. So what kinds of things does Jackson House alumni do that brings out the best of people.
Yeah. So I think too, to kind of like eliminate that intimidation of going to meetings, we offer like events every single Saturday. So we have park meetings that are bi-monthly. They can kind of go, and it's almost like an informal meeting of just sharing their experience and giving them the opportunity to connect. And on one of those park meetings towards the end of the month, we have a potluck. So people participate, and then they can, bring something, and we all just kind of hang out, talk, and there's no pressure around it. And it just gives people that opportunity, because food always brings people out, but it brings people together as well.
Correct.
And then we also do all kinds of different things. So in the past, we've done things like hikes. We've done charity work together. So just, being able to give back to our community by like, we did some homeless outreach and put together toiletry bags together and have like an assembly line of 20 people. And they did a race to see who was fastest. And we built like 100 bags and we're able to give that back. And then we also do things that are around crafts, especially for like mental health and just, zoning out, right? And not having to, socially always be doing something, but we also do sports, and it gets people moving. It gets people excited. We had a kickball tournament. So I think the list goes on as far as like having fun, but I think it's always trying to do something different every single month and just seeing what works for people and what gets people excited.
Yeah. Do you get a lot of feedback from the people who've been participating in terms of what they like, and does that help you kind of make changes up the road for, this works, this doesn't work, and take feedback from people?
Yes. And I love to hear what our alumni have to say. I mean, at the end of the day, this program's for them.
Right.
And I'm just like the person that could kind of help coordinate and make it happen. But, with people's participation in our alumni growing so much, we actually have a committee that, is the soundboard for our whole alumni program. So they give me all the feedback, and they help me improve things and also just see things from a different perspective. But also they give me, some insight as to what we can do to, get more people engaged besides doing sports things or, art things. It's like, what else can we do? Right. So I think it's important to kind of listen to the audience, right? And give them, things that, are free, but it gives people an option to, stay engaged with things that are, free. And then it also gives people that option to feel like they're being heard, and I think that's the most important thing, is just being in a community where you feel heard.
Yeah, it's almost like, you might have your family or a group of friends at home, but this becomes a family in and of itself, which, maybe you can speak a little bit to what are some of the things that you see when people are going through treatment that makes it for a successful long-term recovery?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's connection. In a treatment setting, and I can't speak for anyone else, but like just going to treatment myself, having those connections with people in the house and having some genuine like laughs, having those genuine cries and everything like that, you just get you form this bond with people. And I think Jackson House, you're able to, do that with one another. And then, as you leave the program, it's the same type of thing, they become really close to you and important to you. So you want to help them when they're down, and you want to also share those successes when they're, doing really well.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you went through something personally. Would you want to share a little bit about your experience and what you went through and what got you through it?
Yeah. So I'm going to be taking 5 years in 2 weeks.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But my process, it was much like a lot of the alumni here and hearing their story. And I lost everything, and I didn't know what to do anymore with my life. And my mom called me out, and I didn't want to hear it for the longest time. But I knew she was the first phone call I made when I knew I needed to get help.
How old were you when you recognized there was a problem?
I think like 27.
Okay.
I had the excuse of like, I'm in my 20s, I'll get it together when I'm 30. Like that's when you start to adult.
Right.
But my life was in shambles, and it became unmanageable. And it took me a really long time to recognize that I had a problem. But everybody has to hit their rock bottom, and I finally hit mine.
No.
I didn't have a place to go. I had pushed my family so far away from me. I pushed all my friends that would call me out away from me. And I was left with, those surface level friendships that, were just through addiction.
Right.
And so I knew it was like my time to go get some help, and I went to treatment. Now, I had no idea what treatment looked like or what that was. And, I didn't know what the process was. And I actually had, I had insurance, but I didn't know. I got rid of it, got Medi-Cal, stuff like that. Long story short.
Right. How did you feel at that time? So you didn't know what treatment was like, but were you anxious? Or did you just know it's time, I'm ready for this? Or was there some apprehension?
There was, it was both.
Yeah.
It was like some apprehension. I was very anxious because I am a control freak, unfortunately. That's just who I am. And I didn't know what to expect. So going in with no knowledge of what I was doing was really intimidating for me, which is what kind of like attracted me so much to doing this alumni coordinating. It's like can help, people that don't maybe understand how things work and just being a resource for people. Because if I had some resources, a little bit more resources, some insight, I think I would have felt a little bit more at ease making that commitment to going to treatment. But my life was in shambles, and I knew something had to change. So I was like, I got to go. I don't care what it takes. I got to figure it out. And I think that's what it is. It's like, you just get so desperate. You gotta, you gotta go for it.
And and you wanted more for yourself and for your future. And I know now you have a daughter.
Yeah.
She's going to be turning one here in a week.
In a week.
So
So it's just like, and now I can, I'm in this place in my life that I can be sober and I can be present for my daughter. And I just never, ever thought that I'm like going to cry. It's just a beautiful thing, I can give her this gift that I gave myself as far as like being self-aware and taking care of who you are as a person. And I'm sorry. I didn't even think about it. But it's just an amazing thing to be sober and to be a parent and to, be able to give back and do something that I love so much. Yeah. I'm so passionate about this job. So.
Well, you also mentioned that it was connection that really sees somebody through in your experience. So what did that connection look like, whether it was through treatment, after treatment? What was that like for you?
For me, so connection within the house was incredible. However, when I left, there was a gap.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And the last thing I wanted to do, to be honest, was be involved with the treatment facility I was at. I was like, I'm done.
You're done with it, right? Yes.
I don't want to go back, But I recognized through my process in recovery how important it is to stay connected, and that I have to continuously push myself to grow as a person. And I learned that through getting reconnected with, AA and NA and doing the step work and staying engaged with people in recovery and seeing the beauty and the strength in numbers and knowing that I'm not alone all the time. And so I think like that was like that was like something that I needed to listen to. And it's just, I see now how important it is to have a core or someone that you can call that is also in recovery, because there's no judgment around it. And they just know how you're feeling at those moments of your like low points in your recovery, because they hit hard.
Right. Because I imagine, people go home and they have these moments of weakness, and how do you navigate through that? Or what advice would you give to somebody that's trying to navigate through those moments of weaknesses?
Yeah, I think it's important to embrace those feelings of weakness and let yourself almost make it like a learning opportunity. Like for me, it was like I had to remove the word failure from my vocabulary, because that was like my negative core value of self. And so for me, like feeling like I couldn't do this thing or feeling weak, I was like, okay, in this moment that I was feeling sad or not capable, what's the big take from this? What am I going to learn? So I think like the most important thing is when you're feeling low, that you sit with it for a second, and all those things that you learned in treatment, kind of look back and you start to kind of go through those coping skills. And then you call somebody that you can trust, and you walk through that, but you go through that feeling. And I think that's the whole thing with recovery, is like, we have to go through those low points to understand the beauty of life.
Yeah. So like when those things come up, those negative feelings, they're actually meant to bring something positive forth, and some revelation about yourself or what you can learn from that to grow. Going back to, the alumni events, what would you say to somebody who's on the fence about coming to one of them? I mean, it's probably intimidating for some people. Mm-hmm. So how do you get people encouraged about coming to the events and participating?
Yeah. So typically, it kind of varies. So it depends on the approach and like who I'm chatting with. Like, I think like the biggest thing is just knowing that, our alumni has gone through these programs together, and they know this program, better than anybody. Mm-hmm. And that's one commonality that they all have, that they can all share with one another. Whereas, maybe going to an AA or an outside meeting, it's like you go in and you don't know anybody. Yes, they have that commonality of like being in recovery, but I think there's something special because you gain a lot of knowledge of self when you're in these programs. And I think like having that in common just can put you at ease, and just know that you're not alone when you come to these programs. Because, if you're feeling like maybe that person's not connected to you, I bet you the person next to you is connected. Mm-hmm. So I think just knowing, like, maybe sitting through it, and you don't necessarily have to share,
right?
But just come and listen, and know that
come and observe.
Yeah, check it out and see if it's for you. But also, come to an event that you feel is most comfortable. Like, so there's going to be some social events. If you're not feeling up to the social, maybe you jump in on a Zoom.
Right.
So we try to just come to something that you feel safe at.
Get your feet wet a little bit. Dip your toes in the water.
Exactly.
See if it's for you, but make it an event that interests you or that you feel a little
connected to.
Yeah.
And just to know that to not be afraid, and I know it's easier said than done, but at the end of the day, like, we're all here trying to fight through this together.
Right.
And just know that there's no judgment for whatever situation you're currently in, that you're always welcome.
Yeah. Well, the support here is incredible. And I know that, a lot of the alumni, they love you and they love what you've done with this program. What are things that you love about your job, and what aspect of it do you find the most rewarding?
Yeah, oh my gosh, I feel like the list it's a long list, but my number one favorite thing is to see people come back just full of smiles. Also see people come back full of tears.
Yeah.
And be able to share and be vulnerable and just let me know where they're at in their lives.
Yeah.
When I myself contact all the people upon discharge, and I check in, and, just hearing people have over 2 years now in their recovery, and that being a majority of the people that I'm contacting or getting it connected to. It's a beautiful thing, So hearing people's successes, but also being there for people when, like, just feeling like I can be trusted, and people contacting me at low points and like just needing to be redirected, back to treatment or whatever that they need. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I get both of those feelings. Yeah. I get the success. I get the low point. Yeah. I know all those feelings, like, throughout your recovery, and it can be difficult. So
you've walked the walk.
I've walked the walk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's so wonderful to be there for someone and have the resources to make sure that they get what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it be them, accomplishing 2 years and giving their token to getting them back into treatment if they had a little slip. You know, it's like, just know that like I did it, I've been there, and I like don't judge for anything. And it's so nice to feel that like trust
and a level of support.
Yeah,
you're not alone.
Exactly. And I think my favorite part of that is being somewhat of a resource for people.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really have that going into treatment. And so I really like love that piece of it and doing the research, because I know how important it is and how scary it is, you know, just to either start your process or to continue it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell that you do an amazing job, and the feedback that we get here says it as well. And so thank you very much for your time today, and for what you do for people. I mean, you truly are changing lives, and I can't imagine any job, if you even want to call it a job, but anything that's more rewarding and fulfilling than knowing that you're really making a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Thank you, Saul. I love what I do.
It shows.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up today's conversation with Melissa, it is clear that staying connected and involved through substance-free activities plays a critical role in sustaining recovery and maintaining mental health after treatment. Melissa's insights remind us that building a supportive community through engaging activities not only enriches lives, but it also strengthens the journey to long-term wellness. And we always want to remind you that if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or addiction challenges, reach out to us at Jackson House, where support is waiting for you. Please remember to like, share, follow, and rate this podcast. Your support will help us reach others who may need to hear that they are not alone. Together, we will make a difference, one story, one call, one life at a time. Thank you for tuning in, and remember, connection is key to recovery.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope you've gained valuable insights and feel more empowered in your journey. If you or a loved one is facing mental health challenges or addiction, remember, you're not alone. Jackson House can help. Hold on to hope and take the first step towards transformation. Give us a call at 888-255-9280. Your path to recovery starts now.